Welcome to the Socialite series, where we celebrate and promote women who influence the world. We do this each and every week to bring you information, inspiration, and motivation from socialites who have something to say. I'm your host, Monica Karst. Now let's get this party started. Good morning and welcome back, everyone. It's so nice to have you join us for episode number 4 of the Socialite series. I'm Monica Karst, your host, and today's special guest host is Amber Campion. Amber is a warrior for waking up. She's a yoga teacher trainer, and leadership coach. She's guided hundreds of people to live, love, and give bigger than they ever thought was possible. Amber, welcome to the show this morning. I am so glad to have you here.
I am so glad to be here.
So tell the world why Amber Campion is so amazing. What do we need to know about you?
Well, before the show, when you said you're going to say, what's so amazing about you? The thing that I really want to share with people is actually a quote that I heard from the Dalai Lama that really helped me to kind of step into my mission in the way that kind of lights me up the most, which is with the realization of one's own potential and self-confidence in one's ability, one can build a better world. And I actually am reading that. I have it up on my whiteboard to remind me every day of what my vision is and what my mission is. So the work that I'm doing, whether I'm leading a workshop, I'm leading a retreat, I'm leading a training, or I'm coaching someone one-on-one, is really to help the leader within to emerge and for them to really be able to step into their potential, step into their confidence so that they can start to create and bring into the world what they're meant to bring into the world. And the kind of leadership that I'm really inspired to bring into the world is one that's a little bit more conscious, more connected, more courageous, and from that, a lot more authentic, a lot more true to who they really, really are and what the gifts that they really want to bring into the world.
I love that. And it's fun that you brought up courageous and authentic, because when I met you, I fell in love with a badass yoga teacher. It was a Friday night happy hour yoga class, and you threw out the F word. And I was like, oh, I love her. I love you because you are so authentic and so courageous. And when I see you, you're just this glowing being of happiness and light and love. But you also have this really super strong foundation, and you're not afraid to tell it like it is. And when you take a yoga class with you, you can just see the strength inside of you and the inner strength. And I'm not sure if that comes from where you came from. So tell everybody, where did you come from? Where did you grow up?
Yeah. Well, I would say, I grew up all over. So, I was born in Oregon, and then my family relocated to California, and then they relocated to Florida. And I moved to New York City on my own when I was 20, and I lived in New York City for 12 years. But where I feel that my voice really started to emerge, and I've been speaking about this for years, is that when I became a yoga teacher, and when I moved to New York City at 20, I did not move to New York City to work in the health field. I did not have any dreams or desires to be a yoga teacher. I didn't even practice yoga. I went there, I was an artist. I wanted to be a photographer. Though New York, what's interesting is that when I was a little girl, my parents said that I would always say, my parents are from Jersey, so maybe that's how I heard about New York City, but I would say to them, I'm going to live in New York City. I'm going to live in New York City. I would say this when I was a little girl. And so I ended up there. I definitely was meant to go to New York City. New York City was meant to grow me up. I truly believe that, because my life completely changed when I moved to New York. And that's an incredible long story in of itself. But anyways, I was offered a yoga teacher training for free and literally just did it because it was free and thought it would be like, of course I knew I'd get something out of it, but I wasn't going to become a yoga teacher because at that time I did not believe in myself or have confidence in myself in the way of helping others. I felt like I was a mess. But after my yoga teacher training, there was this mentor that kind of took me on. I wasn't seeking a mentor. He just kind of took me on and he kept encouraging me that I should volunteer with this company called the Lineage Project. And the Lineage Project is an organization that brings teachers into different facilities. So I end up volunteering in the prison system of New York. So I would bring awareness practices to at-risk and incarcerated youth. So I said no to that for quite some time. Finally, he convinced me. I volunteered. It terrified me, but I ended up going back again and again, and I volunteered for a full year before they hired me, and then I ended up working for them for 6 years. So I spent 7 years, my first 7 years teaching was to incarcerated youth in the Bronx, and my voice really emerged there. Like, I didn't even go into a yoga studio and teach in a yoga studio proper until like 2009, and I got my yoga teacher training in 2005. So really that was like where I learned how to teach, where I got my voice, I think probably where I picked up a lot of the cussing, but also where I just really got to the heart of what it was, which is like, this is about waking people up to their truth. This is about people recognizing that they're a lot more powerful than they give themselves credit for. This is, for me, it's not about, can you rock your asana? This is about it's about waking up, and it's about authenticity, and it's about connection. I mean, some of the most powerful experiences I had on the inside with those kids was when we'd be sitting in a circle just talking about whether or not we believe we have choice, and if we have choice, what does that look like in our lives, and crying and laughing and connecting, even though, here I am sitting in a prison with 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds,
Wow.
talking about really intense things that they've never been asked before. No one's ever asked them. And what would be so powerful is just by a simple dialogue, a simple question, the amount of incredible, magnificent insight that would come out of these kids' mouths. That all of a sudden, and also the masks that would come off when you asked them real questions, that you really got their wheels spinning. It was like, instead of that mask of like, I'm a tough kid, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm actually 12. And that actually came out, and all of a sudden I was just sitting there with kids, and it was just, there was this separation of like, it was no longer like, we weren't looking at the exteriors of each other, and we weren't looking at the circumstances. We were just all like humans being together. So it was pretty profound and definitely shaped who I became in the world just as a person, but definitely has shaped my voice as a teacher, a coach, and a leader in the world for sure.
Powerful. And that makes so much sense to your story, knowing you and where you are in your journey now. And it's interesting to see how a mentor came to you and how yoga came to you, and you listened to the message and then became the mentor, and now is mentoring and coaching people. So the universe took care of you and you listened to that message.
Yeah. And I'm deeply grateful, because definitely it was in a time in my life when it could have gone a very different way. Like when I first moved to New York City, it was not, my life was really different. I wasn't like some awful person, but it was a very different story. Like I was partying, I was staying up late, I was using drugs. I was definitely not doing anything to serve and give back. I was, like I said, it was just very different life. And so what kind of woke me up initially to this whole world is that I was having a lot of physical problems. And I think a lot of people, it's a pretty common thing, like you start finding you're so uncomfortable, whether that's physically or mentally, that finally you'll do things that are just like that you think are weird or not you. And I was having such extreme physical discomforts with my digestion that it's actually really funny. I kind of joke about it, but like what the beginning path that woke me up is a colonic. So someone was like, oh, you should go get a colonic. And for those listeners who are like, what is that? This is where you It's like a cleansing of the intestines by sticking a tube up your anus and flushing it out, right? And you can imagine, I mean, that's pretty, like, talking about that stuff now is pretty whatever to me. But back then, I remember I was working at a PR agency at the time, which is what my original degree is in. It's just in public relations. So I was working for an IT company doing PR. This is before yoga and everything, right? And there was an actress there, and I was she was also working there, and talking to her about all my stomach problems and my low energy. I'm like 23 years old, right? Low energy, like just feeling horrible, constant stomach issues, like literally not going to the bathroom for 2 weeks at a time. So pretty bad, not just like not feeling good, really bad. And she's like, you should go get a colonic. And I never heard of it. She explained it to me. And of course I was like, no. But finally I was just like, yeah, I'll try it. And when I went, actually, I was so impacted in my intestines that the woman couldn't actually give me one, but she had already gone through the whole, pretty bad. She'd already gone through the whole process of whatever she has to do to realize that my intestines were so impacted. It was like literally putting water on a stone, she said, and like nothing was breaking up. But so she instead gave me my first holistic health counseling session. She's like, I'm not going to return your money. I've already done all this, but I'll give you a counseling session on food. And she taught me about kale for the first time. I'd never heard of that. Quinoa, spelt bread. She just started giving me all these basic 101 like health tips. And I immediately went to the store and got all this stuff, and my life really started to change from that. And like once I cleared those blocks that were in my body, it was like all of a sudden so much more was emerging. My creative self was emerging, my like desires to like really like I was so asleep because my body was taking all of the energy. There was just like, and then my way, since I didn't really know how to escape some of that pain, was what a lot of people do, I think, when they're uncomfortable, which is you go towards like kind of instant gratification things. Mm-hmm. Like if I can just feel good for this next hour, great, because I don't know how to actually feel good in my body all the time, So right. that was the beginning of my awakening. Which
well, and then that, talking about shitty stuff and should, shit and should, that's a great intro to your topic, which is something that you're going to be hosting webinars about, and that's bullshitting. What the heck does bullshitting mean to you?
Yeah. Well, I came up with this bullshitting thing like actually pretty recently. My last webinar I did was called Stop Bullshitting and Start Leading. And I was kind of going back and forth with this woman on the phone trying to come up with the title, and in like the last couple of minutes that's what came up. And when we're shoulding ourselves, right, over and over again, I should go do this. I should be like that. I should feel like this. It's these kind of, it's our list of unbreakable rules for ourselves and for others. And really what I have found in my own life and through coaching so many people and teaching so many people is that I find the number one thing that really keeps people from stepping into their truth, stepping into their power, stepping into their authentic leadership is that they're just bullshitting themselves. Like I should be like her, and then when I'm like her, I'll be good enough. Or I should just do this. Like I should just get up every day at 4 a.m. and meditate for an hour, and then my life will be perfect. And again, it's not about me telling people what they should or shouldn't be doing, but really getting to the heart of what is it that you really, really, truly want to be doing. Put all the game or all the guilt aside, all the shame aside, all of what you're seeing other people do and succeed from. It's like, put all that aside, and what is it that you really, really want? Because at the heart of that, if you can get to that real answer of what you really want, that is like the beginning of people coming alive to their purpose. It starts right there. And so, bullshitting is when we're kind of putting a wall around our potential. We're like blocking ourselves from really having what we really want to be having.
Right. And it's, I see, and you put the guilt in there. So I think of bullshitting to me is guilt. It's like, oh, the guilt on you. It's like, you should be. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
screw that. I shouldn't be doing anything. I'm going to be doing this right here, right now.
Yeah.
And it's your little guilty mind talking of like, oh, you should be eating healthy and you should be exercising and you shouldn't be drinking that beer.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and the one that really stands out for me right now, especially like stepping into the entrepreneurial world, there's so many shoulds. Like your business should like that look like this. There's a lot of people doing like, the make the six figures, make the seven figures. So you should be making six figures in your business at least. And if you're not making at least six figures in your business, then you're not successful, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are operating from that paradigm. And for me last year, that was such a big resonating thing. It was like, oh, I got to get up to that six-figure mark because then I will be successful. And the reality was that I started to really attach my self-worth to a dollar amount rather than the experience I was having in my business, the successes that I was having with my clients, the way I was feeling every day. And I started to not like doing what I did anymore. I started to not like coaching. I started to not like teaching. I started to not like being a leader and an entrepreneur. And I was like, I just should go get a job, right? I should. Because that's the thing about shoulds. One should will lead to another should, which will lead to another should until you're just lost, right? And then I started to look at the reality of what I really, first of all, just needed to get by. And then what was actually like more than enough for me in my current situation. And the reality is, like, in my current situation, I don't have debt, I don't have children, I don't have car payments. I live in an incredibly affordable home because me and my partner decided to live with another couple for the first year that we were living together. So we have really low overhead. Like, for me, if I'm making 60 grand a year, I am like doing fucking great, And that's the truth. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to attempt to make my income bigger, but like, as soon as I realized that, the weight on my shoulders just went off, and all of a sudden money started rolling in even more. That was, that's all it took was me getting out of that. Like, when I hit this number, then that will mean I'm enough. And as soon as I was just like, I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than okay. And I don't need that. And that doesn't define me. That's when I actually started to like, oh, I got another client. Oh, I got another client. Oh, I just booked another retreat. Like, and it just started coming. It's
It's fun how that happens. And the money piece, it really takes away from why you got into entrepreneurship. I've had that problem multiple times of where I don't want to do this. This isn't fun. This isn't feeding my spirit. Where this is the reason why I went into entrepreneurship is because it fed my soul. It fed my spirit. And when I took the money piece away, the money comes. People will come because it's authentic. And as easy as it seems to be with this word authentic these days and how it should be natural, it's not freaking natural. It does not come natural anymore. No. I'm sorry, but it just does not, because we're always doing the should for other people. Well, screw the should. Go back to being your authentic self. And that's when the magic happens, right?
Yeah, totally.
And community living. Oh, I was going to say community living. For those of you who are not in Santa Cruz, we're in Santa Cruz, California. Community living is a must. And not only is it a must, but it's fun. I enjoy community living. It is a whole new, it brings me back to roots. And I know I've had this with another caller, and it brings us back to our roots of living in a tribe. I love living in a tribe, and there's so much fun and joy and love and experience in that. So I'm sure you're experiencing the same thing, that it's not a bad thing to have community living. It's a fun thing.
Oh no, Monica, this is the thing is I say this all the time. So it's two couples. We have a 3-bedroom house and we're two couples. And so one couple, they have like the big master room, and then me and my partner have a bedroom, and then we have an office because him and I are both entrepreneurs. So what I always say is I'm like, why don't more like married couples do this? Because it's an amazing thing. Like, if you can find the right couple to live with, like, it's amazing. We cook together. We help clean, like it cuts down on cost. We help to keep, the house looking great.
Right.
And because of that, we're like, literally, I can smell the ocean from my house. So we get to live in
See?
this great little beach, like a little beach bungalow. And it's great. And I love living with them. And in fact, I mean, I want to keep doing it. You know what I mean? It's not even like we wanted
Absolutely.
to do that for the first year of living together, just to like ease our way into that first experience. But now it's like, January is when the lease will come up and I'm like, let's live with them again. This is great. Yeah, I love it.
Fantastic. So tell us about some of your coaching and how people can find you. Where do they find you? What type of coaching and where do you teach yoga? Give us, where do we find Amber?
Where do you find me? Well, first of all, you can find me on the web, right at my website, which is ambercampion.com. And that's a great place to just be in touch with me and find me. Also Facebook. If you find me on Facebook, I have both my personal page and my fan page. And Facebook is a great place to find out about the free webinars and whatnot. Like, for instance, I have a webinar tomorrow that I'm leading that's called Create a Kick-Ass Life You Love. And this one I'm really excited about it because we're going to get a little bit more like what I like to say with my coaching is that I blend the practical with the magical. So I'm an NLP practitioner and I work with the transformational coaching method, which is all around beliefs and behaviors. And so I have this like neuroscience, practical psychology side of me that I freaking love and I bring to the table, and that like action-based, very like coach kind of person. But then there's that other side of me that's, been a yoga teacher for a decade and loves working with that more like mystical, magical side. And this webinar is going to be more about the magical. So I'm really going to be giving some tools for manifesting. Though what I love about the whole manifesting thing is that because I study the neuroscience aspect, I can be like, here's the formula, for manifesting, but here's how it's really working in your brain. Like, here's what's going on and why this is happening. So I'm really excited for this webinar tomorrow, and people can sign up for that by Facebook. Like if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see that I'm posting it all over the place.
And it's free.
It's free, yeah.
Yeah, and it's free. So everybody, and I love the balance. And even in the title, it shows your balance. Kick ass, you love. You've got kick ass and love. And that's such a perfect combination of you when I think about you. You're a lovely kick ass woman. So that's happening tomorrow. You also have retreats. I saw one of those. Do you have something up anytime soon? Something you do often?
Yeah, well, this year, there's a few things going on this year coming up. So if people are local to Santa Cruz in August, mid-August, I think it's August 14th, which is a Saturday, I'm going to be offering a workshop at Santa Cruz Yoga, so they can go check out Santa Cruz Yoga to see what that is. And that's called Release and Receive. So I'm the creator of a practice called Dynamic Release Method, which is all about releasing in the physical body. And also, in the class, we're starting to also talk about some of the blocks mentally and emotionally so that you can step into your power and, it's release and receive. And this workshop is going to be a 3-hour workshop where we will do some tantric breath work, and then we'll move into Thai body work, and finally end with tennis balls doing self-myofascial release. So it's going to be 3 hours of like incredible physical, mental, emotional release through experiential practices. So that's a local offering I have coming up mid-August. And then I have a yoga teacher training in Costa Rica coming up, which is for women. It's a women's 200-hour evolutionary leadership yoga teacher training. So you get your 200-hour certificate, but it's also a really powerful leadership training that I can honestly say I can't imagine any other 200-hour yoga teacher trainings are offering this kind of experience in the way that, and I co-lead this with Sophia Tome. So she really brings in kind of like the leadership aspect from this more goddessy place, and then I'm bringing it more in from the neuroscience, practical psychology, and like take action and service and all of that aspect. So that's October 23rd to November 13th. And then I have
22 days in Costa Rica. I want to go to that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's really magical. We did it last year, and it's funny, the word magical, like in everyone's testimonial, they're like, most magical training ever. Magical.
I bet.
It really is magical. And then one other thing that I'm so excited about, and the exact date I don't have just yet, it's either going to be October 8th or 15th, but I pair up every year with my friend. She's an author, three-time, has 3 books out. She writes for Oprah. She writes for Huffington Post. She writes for all sorts of amazing magazines. And we lead a one-day retreat that's going to be in the Santa Cruz Mountains called Writer Yogis and Yogis Writing. And so I'm really excited for that. And that'll, like I said, either be October 8th or 15th. So if you get on my newsletter or go to my website, you'll start to see all of this stuff being posted. And then for my coaching program, I have 2 spots left, which is it actually closes in like a week. I think the last day to sign up for coaching with me is like July 7th. And there's only 2 spots left. And the webinar will give people a little bit more of a taste of who I am and what I have to offer. So they can check that out tomorrow if they're interested. And they can go onto my website to learn more about me. Yeah.
Perfect. And then in closing, I just want to let you know that I have a tennis ball that sits in my desk. And I stare at that tennis ball and I don't like to use it. But when I use it, it is incredibly crazy how you can go from extreme pain to where you want to curse at that damn tennis ball to like, oh, that feels so good. Explain that process just so quickly if you could.
Well, I feel like what you just said is perfect closure for when people stop bullshitting themselves. Because when people are bullshitting themselves, they're in this place that feels like extreme pain and it feels like they're so stuck and how the hell am I going to get out of this? Right? And it seems so intense. And then just moments later, like when you just release that, it's like, there I really am. There's who I really am, which is a lot more calm. Who I really am is not full of anxiety. Who I really am is not full of envy, is not full of overwhelm. That's who I really am. And it's like, but it just takes that moment of kind of leaning in to your edge a little bit, leaning into the discomfort, taking a deep breath, getting out of all the stories that are in our head, which same thing happens with the tennis balls, right? Like we lie down and we let that tennis ball sink in and all of a sudden our body reacts and we start tensing our muscles. The stories come up like, this is too hard. I'm too old. This is too tight. She's crazy. She's trying to hurt me. And as soon as you release those thoughts and release the tension in the body, you start to melt and sink and get a little bit closer to what's really there, right? And then all of a sudden there's this like clarity and this like sense of freedom and
it's a crazy struggle and it feels so good after you do release it. It's just such clarity. Like you said, it's just, wow, I fought that. And after fighting it, you release and it's like, ooh, feels good. So that's the perfect explanation. So Amber, in closing, what would you like to tell us set us off on our day, on this beautiful, gorgeous Santa Cruz day, and to the rest of the world who is listening, give us a piece of advice, something to tell us, give us peace for our day.
Well, right when you said that, I was just taking a big, deep breath. And I mean, there's so many things people could say right here, right? Like believe in yourself or whatever, but like, I think like a really practical tool that has so helped me is that moment when everything feels tight and everything feels stuck and everything feels constricted and everything feels overwhelmed and you feel like you're losing sight of who you are. It's like the breath. Just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. Hold it for a few seconds at the top of the inhale and slowly let it go out. And do that a couple times. And it's like, after you do that a few times, I'm not saying that if you're full of anxiety and you take 3 deep breaths, all your suffering is going to go away. But it's all of a sudden, what I will say is maybe you'll realize that you're not suffering. There might still be pain there, but there's a little bit like, I will say the breath has helped me reveal my truth. So breathe, use your breath, start there. And yeah. Like you were saying when we first got on the call, and you're like your sidekick there that we're not hearing his voice, but he's a part of this in the background. How every morning he'll say to you, like, everything's going to be okay. I love that.
Everything's going to be okay. Yes. And that sidekick in the background is Damian, who is the most amazing producer. And we're waving to you. You can't see him. We can't see him, but he's awesome. So thank you, Damian. And thank you, Amber Campion. Remember to take a breath. We'll take a breath with you, Amber. Thank you so much for being here this morning and enlightening us. And we will post all of your information on our Facebook page. That's the Santa Cruz Socialites Facebook page. You'll find Amber's website, upcoming events to reach her. And this is Monica Karst reminding you that every day is a day to celebrate. Cheers. Thank you for tuning in to the Socialite series. To find out more, visit us at santacruzsocialites.com and monicakarst.com. Until next week, be seen and be heard, and get out and shine your social light on your community.